So before the spectacle of the Mavs versus Clippers Game 6, something crazy happened. Dallas was visiting the Clippers arena for the game, and when driving, you can see a sign that says Dallas to Cancun. Luka Doncic saw the sign on the way to the arena and pulled an Uno reverse and eliminated the Clippers from the playoffs. But you may be asking, how did the Mavericks win? Well, in today's video, I'm going to talk about the fallout of the Clippers and why they played so bad, and also why the Mavericks played much better. I literally went through every clip online, and this will not only get us information about the discourse going around about the series, but also the players' perspectives on why they thought they had a better series. Before we get into today's crazy video, make sure you hit that like and that subscribe button, and enough of me talking, let's answer the question. How did the Mavericks suffocate the Clippers? Well, it all started with PJ Washington. I'm going to be honest with you, this guy has been playing insane defensively, and in this series, he averaged 1.5 steals per game and 1.2 blocks per game, which when I look at those numbers, it reminds me of a defensive player that can lock down almost any position from point guard to power forward. And as we continue to look at this trade of PJ Washington to the Mavericks, it's looking more and more perfect, as the Mavs can just put PJ Washington on the other team's best defender. PJ ended the series averaging 10.8 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 1.2 blocks, which is absolutely huge. That's all you needed from him, and he did his job. But another thing I think really helped PJ Washington get some more continuity on this Mavericks team was his relationship with Daniel Gafford. Take a listen to this clip.
Daniel, we're the new guys at the trade deadline. You guys played a big role tonight. You played a big role since you joined the team. What kind of relationship have you developed with Daniel since that trade happened?
I've been knowing Dan since like middle school, because he's from Arkansas and I'm obviously from here, so we used to play AU against each other all the time. So I mean, Dan I've been knowing him, he's familiar, and for me it was great finally getting to be able to play with him. So the chemistry was already there, and I already knew what he can do, and he knew what I could do on the floor. So it's special being able to play with him.
Relationships like these really help you cement some chemistry on the floor as well, and it was quite evident. Both PJ Washington and Gafford looked like they've played together before, they've understood each other before, and it's clearly true. But now let's talk about Luka Doncic. They said they had Luka Doncic figured out, but when his game isn't going and he isn't shooting well, he still finds a way to get the ball moving, which led to his crazy 13 assists in the game. And I'm telling you, he only shot 34% from the field, but great players find other ways to impact the game when they're struggling, and that's exactly what Luka did. But great, let's just say Luka Doncic didn't have the most efficient series that we're used to him having. He still managed to hit some clutch shots and keep the Mavericks in the game and go toe-to-toe with Michael Jordan as the only players to average 30 points per game in a playoff series. Take a listen to this.
He's unbelievable. He is, for his career in the playoffs, 32, 9, and 8. There's only 3 guys in league history that are 25, 6, and 6. Him, Joker, and LeBron. 2 certified legends in him. So remove the rebounds and assists part of it. What does 32 points per game in the playoffs mean? It means he's one of 2 guys to be at 30. It's the ultimate legend in Michael Jordan, an icon in Iverson, what some people think is the best scoring forward of all time in Durant, Jerry West, who went to 9 finals, and LeBron James. Those are the guys.
That's nice how you made it at 28 so you could get.
I didn't do 28. I just said top 6. I didn't know who the 6 was. A lot of people do top 5s. I said do top 6. I didn't do 28 points. I just know where it was. Also, as it happens, it's just a great list. I don't know. Talk to Josh about that. But this was inevitable.
Although Luka didn't play the best series, he still averaged 30 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, and 9.5 assists, while only shooting 40% from the field. He had many injury problems, and he was also dealing with a sickness while he was playing a game. Here's what he had to say about him being sick.
When you start the game in the playoffs, it's a different thing, and there's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of emotion, so you just keep going. Yeah, it's tough, I can't breathe through nose, so I have to blow my nose every time on. But like I said, you know, it's the adrenaline of the playoff game.
You never want to be sick during a series, but I'm glad that he pushed through this and got his team this series victory. And now we have to talk about the most important player on this Mavericks team, and this is Kyrie Irving. He played a massive role with his defense, and most of the time it goes overlooked when he has those crazy 30-40 point games. But in this series, he played great defense on Paul George and Harden, causing them to play not so great. And here's what he had to say about playing defense on these two players.
For the rest of the game.
We also talked about how important defense is to you. Just what were you doing to James Harden that was able to keep him so quiet for the last couple of years?
Yeah, he's special. He's MVP of our league, you know, at one point. So I just felt like I was mirroring his skill set a little bit and trying to make things difficult. He was going to hit some tough shots, but I was erring on the side of my aggression, my energy, and really trusting my teammates. That's a big thing in this series. We knew we were going against a special team, so good win.
If you notice in this interview, Kyrie talks about mirroring James Harden's offense, which led to his insane 1.8 steals per game in this series. This ability of mirroring attackers on defense comes from playing the game so long and having the upper hand, because if you remember, Kyrie was teammates back with Harden in Brooklyn, so you always know some players' tendencies. Kyrie had an amazing series though, averaging 26.5 points per game, 5.7 rebounds, and 4.7 assists on a crazy efficient 51% from the field. And sometimes I just don't understand how Kyrie Irving puts up these efficient numbers from the field. And I always look at the games, I'm like, this guy always bails out his team. He takes these buzzer beater shots and still shoots 50% from the field. This dude is a true magician. But you guys may be asking what happened on the LA Clippers side of things that led to this insane fallout. A team with Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Well, the first issue was injuries to Kawhi. And trust me, you don't need a player like Kawhi out there playing minutes for you when he is injured. Look at the run that he had with the Raptors. That dude went out there and guarded the best player on the opposing team. So missing a player like that is very, very huge. But Stephen A. Smith went out there after the Clippers lost and flamed Kawhi Leonard for no reason, calling him the worst superstar to have right now. But aside from that, I agree with everything else Stephen A. Smith says in this clip.
Game, right, Stephen A? It is a must-win game, yeah. But you see something even bigger, even more consequential here for Los Angeles. Why?
I think wholesale changes should take place. This team, listen, I'm done with this team. I'm done with this team. They lose the series, I'm done with them. Listen, let's take into account the consideration. Number one, you got Kawhi Leonard locked up. He's the worst superstar you could possibly have because he's hurt half the time, and the other half the time he does nothing to market the sport in your brand. Okay, so you're not generating any revenue that way, right? Wilbon, Bob Myers, let me help y'all out here. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, the four combined. Stay with me. 34 All-Star selections, 5 NBA scoring titles, 5 assist titles, 2 league MVPs, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and obviously only Kawhi with the 2 NBA titles. Kawhi and PG as teammates, they've been together how many times? Only been in the lineup together 46% of their regular season games, 62% of their playoff games, okay? And by the way, they both paid a combined $386 million. I don't even have an NBA Finals appearance to show for it. And that was just with them two. That was just with them two. Let me get to Harden with you, all right? What we got with Harden, James Harden right here. 10 All-Stars, 6-time all NBA first team, 1-time league MVP, 75th anniversary team, 3 scoring titles, 2 assists, ain't been to the finals since 2012 when he was a reserve. Let me get to Russell Westbrook. Over the last 4 games, this is over the last 4 games. This is Russell Westbrook now. 7, 1, 5, and 6. What is that?
The emergence of Russell Westbrook was non-existent. I thought this dude was gonna come out and make a statement, and instead he treated the series like it was UFC 300. But calling Kawhi the worst superstar is insane. Injuries are a part of the sport, and blaming him for an injury-riddled career is completely unethical. But one reason that did lead to the Clippers' downfall was one thing, and one thing only. And this was a lack of mindset. This lack of mindset came from one player, and his name is Paul George. This guy, Paul George, went out on a nationally televised post-game interview and talked about that there is less pressure for him to win games because he is old. Take a listen to this interview.
Beauty of it is the older I've gotten, the less pressure it's been, honestly. You work your tail off all summer. You train for these moments to where if you fail, you fail. Live with the results.
Nope. I ain't going with that.
I'm with you, Shaq.
If you fail, you can't fail. The way Philly played, even though they failed, if you play hard and play with a lot of effort, that's not a failure. Like you played hard, but if you go out there and go and get 15 points when you're 2 for 15, nah, I ain't living with that. Nah, that's not failing. That's worse than failing. That's not stepping up when you're supposed to be the superstar of the team.
I always tell people you can lose, but you got to compete.
Got to compete.
Yeah, you got to compete. I mean, I listen. I don't judge.
I lost a lot, but I competed.
But I can honestly say, and I'm not get off my lawn. I ain't never quit. I'm not
saying he quit.
I'm not saying he quit, but I can say I can look myself in the mirror and say I ain't never quit on one of my teams.
But Ernie,
and I've lost, but I ain't never quit.
When you're that guy, you get all the money, you get all the praise, you are expected to step up, and you should expect from yourself, I'm going to step up. In the closeout game, bring it to me, follow me. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Kenny, when I kick it out, I'm gonna need you to get yourself going.
No wonder the Clippers had their largest loss in Clippers playoff history, losing 123-93. A team's mindset can't revolve around being fine with a loss because your big three is getting old. Just like Shaq said, losing games if you lose by 5 points and fight till the end is fine. But if you go home losing by more than 10 and even 30 in some cases, like the Clippers, is just unacceptable and shows zero fight whatsoever. But one person that did show fight on the Mavericks was Josh Green. I'm talking about rebounding the ball, giving the team second chance opportunities. This dude did absolutely everything on the floor. I don't care if his stats are terrible. I don't care if it looks bad on the box score. This dude did everything that the Mavericks needed from him, and this was bring energy to the floor and give your team second chance opportunities. And Dereck Lively also stepped up. He had a big game, especially in the elimination game, dropping 10 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists. But one thing that Dereck Lively provides to Luka Doncic is a lob threat. There's no more Dwight Powell that Luka Doncic has to deal with because Luka hasn't really played with a lob threat in his career ever. And it makes his job so much easier. He can run a pick and roll with Daniel Gafford and throw it up for Gafford. He can run a pick and roll with Derrick Jones Jr. and he could lob it and throw it down. There are just so many lob threats on this team and it's just so interchangeable. That's why it works so well. Maxi Kleber was also a very important player in this series, but unfortunately, he fell down and injured one of his ribs. It looked like he was holding on to it. So hopefully he gets better because he was spacing the floor out tremendously for Luka, kind of like a PJ Washington, but with less defense. I am so hyped for the other series, the Dallas Mavericks against the OKC Thunder. This will be a series to remember forever, and the West is just getting more and more interesting. Let me know what you guys think about that series, who's gonna win, what are your predictions. I'm gonna make a separate video on that series a little bit later on. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beauty of it is the older I've gotten, the less pressure it's been. Honestly, you work your tail off all summer. You train for these moments to where if you fail, you fail. Live with the results.
Hold on, bro. Let me play that back. What the